So you're curious about hydrogen cars. Like, are they the future? Or is it all just hype?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do a deep dive on that today, look at where the tech's been, how it works, where it might be going.
You know, it's funny. When you say hydrogen cars, most people, they think this brand new thing,
Right.
but they've been around longer than you think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, how far back are we talking?
Like, but back we're talking like 1960s.
The 60s.
Huh.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so then why weren't we all driving them in the 70s?
Well, back then, the tech, it just wasn't quite there yet.
Okay.
Fuel cells weren't as efficient. And I mean, frankly, back then, nobody was really looking for alternatives to gasoline, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
It was really more like in the 1990s, people started getting concerned about the environment. That's when hydrogen cars started getting that second look.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Less about bell bottoms and more about, like, saving the planet. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so less about the history for a second, because I think that's interesting, but, like, how do they work?
Yeah.
Can you explain it? Like, I barely passed high school chemistry because I don't know that I could get much more complicated than that.
Sure. So at the heart of it all, you've got the fuel cell stack.
Okay.
And you can kind of think of that like as the engine of the car.
Okay, so what's going on in the fuel cell stack?
So that is where all the magic happens.
All right, so how's it work?
Basically, you're taking in hydrogen gas and oxygen from the air, and through an electrochemical reaction, and that's key, there's no combustion here.
Okay.
It produces electricity to power the car.
Wow.
And the best part is, the only byproduct of this whole thing is water vapor.
So it's emitting water.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's the fuel cell. What else is happening under the hood there?
Well, obviously you've got your hydrogen tank.
Right.
And that stores the fuel, so that's your gas tank, but with hydrogen.
Okay.
And then you've got an electric motor, like most electric cars.
Great.
And that powers the wheels, gets its juice from the fuel cell. And then, just in case, you've got a small battery for backup power.
Okay, that makes sense. So are there cars on the road today?
Oh, yeah.
Or is this like prototype phase?
No, they're on the road.
Okay.
Toyota's got the Mirai, Hyundai's got the Nexo, and Honda has the Clarity fuel cell.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yep, all commercially available.
Wow. So how far can they go in a tank? Like, what are we talking?
Yeah, so you get a pretty impressive range on these. You can go about 400 miles on a single tank.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, which is, comparable to most gas cars these days.
Yeah, and I don't imagine it takes, hours to charge or anything.
That's the other great thing about these. Refueling only takes about 5 minutes.
Oh,
just like filling up your gas tank.
Okay, so we got cars on the road. They're going 400 miles. They refuel in 5 minutes. Why am I not driving one? What's the catch?
Well, there are some challenges. Big ones, actually.
All right, well, don't leave us hanging. What are the big challenges? So spill it. What are the big roadblocks for the hydrogen highway?
Okay, well, imagine this. You're cruising along, having a great time, but you can only fill up your car at, 5 gas stations in the entire country.
Oh, no.
That's kind of the situation right now with hydrogen.
Really?
Yeah, the infrastructure for refueling, it's just not there yet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can see how that's a problem.
It's a big one.
Yeah.
Huge hurdle.
So it's like people aren't going to buy the cars if they can't, drive them?
Exactly.
And then they're not going to build the stations if people aren't driving the cars.
It's the classic chicken and egg.
Right. Okay, so that's one big challenge. What's the other one?
The other one, we got to talk about money.
Okay.
Because building these cars, it's not cheap.
Okay.
And producing the hydrogen, especially the clean kind,
Right.
price.
Yeah, so it's expensive, and I can't, fuel it up anywhere. I'm starting to feel less optimistic about the hydrogen-powered future here.
But there's good news.
Okay.
There's a real buzz around hydrogen.
Okay.
And it's not just hype. Governments are getting on board.
Really?
Yeah, and putting their money where their mouth is.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So we're seeing tax breaks, incentives, things to make buying a hydrogen car easier and, a little less painful on the wallet.
Right.
But more importantly, they're putting serious cash into building that hydrogen infrastructure.
So they're building those missing gas stations we need.
Exactly. Trying to solve that chicken and egg problem.
That's great. Are there any, countries that are leading the way on this?
Oh, yeah. Japan, they're all in. South Korea, Germany. Yeah, they see hydrogen as a key part of going green.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And the tech itself, how's that evolving?
Oh, it's moving fast.
Yeah.
Researchers, they're making fuel cells more efficient, cheaper.
Okay.
And remember how we were talking about green hydrogen being expensive to make?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're making strides there, too, making it more affordable, more accessible.
Okay, so just to remind me, because it's been a minute, green hydrogen, that's the one that's made with, like, renewable energy, right?
Right. You got it. Wind, solar power, that's the ticket to making this whole thing truly clean.
Okay, great. So the cars are clean, and the way they make the fuel is getting cleaner. I like it.
It's all connected, right?
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned earlier, like, hydrogen cars might be good for, like, big vehicles, too, like trucks and stuff.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So hydrogen cars, they get all the attention for, getting us around town.
Sure.
But their real potential might be in the bigger picture. Think like huge trucks, buses, even trains.
Okay.
These things, they're tough to electrify with just batteries.
Because they're so big.
Exactly. Batteries, they'd add a ton of weight, and charging would take forever. Not good for, hauling cargo across the country.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
But hydrogen, that could be a game changer. You can refuel those big rigs quickly, just like we were talking about. Keep everything moving.
Okay, yeah, so that makes a lot of sense for, like, those kinds of vehicles.
Right.
So where does that leave us with hydrogen versus electric cars? Because it seems like everyone's going electric these days.
True. Battery electric vehicles, or BEVs, as the cool kids call them,
Right.
they're definitely having a moment.
Yeah.
And for good reason. They're efficient, they're quiet.
Yeah, I like them.
But both BEVs and hydrogen fuel cell electric vehicles, those are the FCVs. It's like comparing apples and oranges.
Okay, so two totally different things.
Kinda, yeah. They both get you around, but they each have their pros and cons,
So are we talking like hydrogen cars good, gas cars bad? Or is it more complicated than that?
Yeah, it's not quite that simple. It really comes down to how they make the hydrogen.
Okay.
Because remember we were talking about green hydrogen.
Right.
That's really the goal, right? If you're making it with renewables.
Yeah, with the wind and solar.
Exactly. Then you're talking about a really clean fuel. But right now, a lot of hydrogen, it's still made using fossil fuels.
Okay, so then it's not really that green.
Yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
So we need to figure out the whole, like, making the hydrogen part.
Yeah, it's a process, right?
Yeah.
The whole system has got to get cleaner.
Okay, that makes sense. This has been a fascinating deep dive.
Yeah.
I feel like I learned a lot. The fuel cell thing, my mind was blown.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot. Like, what's the takeaway here? Are hydrogen cars the future or what?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is, because it kind of seems like it could go either way.
Right. Like, it's really hard to say for sure what the future holds.
Yeah.
But no matter what, hydrogen cars, they're super interesting.
Yeah.
The tech is evolving so fast. They have a ton of potential, that's for sure.
Okay, yeah, it's like we're at a crossroads, right? Because we have these advancements, but we also have those, like, big problems to solve.
For sure.
So what do you think? Are we all going to be driving hydrogen cars someday?
I mean, it's possible
Yeah.
as that technology gets better and cheaper, especially with green hydrogen.
Right.
I could see it happening.
Okay, so you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not a sure thing because remember, the future of transportation, it's probably going to be a mix of everything.
Right.
You've got electric cars already out there, and who knows what else they'll come up with,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's a really interesting time to be, like, paying attention to all this stuff.
Totally. And it's not about one winner anyway, right? It's about what works best.
Right. The right tool for the right job.
Exactly. And we need all those tools to build a cleaner future,
That's a great point. I like that. Well, I think that about wraps it up for our hydrogen deep dive.
This was fun.
Yeah, this was really interesting. I always love learning new stuff. So thanks for joining me.
Anytime.
And thanks to everyone out there for listening. We hope you learned some cool stuff about hydrogen cars and maybe even feel a little bit more hopeful about the future of transportation.
Me too.
Until next time, stay curious, everyone.